begin of the hunting trip in Las Vegas for 1981. We started in Las Vegas on Sunday, the 18th of October in 1981. And we got all loaded up, and I went down to Russ Nylen's place, and Russ and I are going to make a week's 10 days hunt.
Yeah. Did you bring your book tag, your lion tag yet?
I forgot that. By God, I forgot that tag.
Well, instead of taking your truck, we'll take my car and run over and get it.
All right. Yeah, that's what we do. Well, then we went and got the lion tag and the license and everything, and come back down to Russ, and we left Russ' place about 8 o'clock Sunday morning. And so we went on up number 93, ain't it?
Right.
Highway. And where we're going to go is way up on the south end of the Snake Range next to Utah border, east of Ely, about 70, 80 miles.
And we are also the south end of Wheeler, which is the tallest and the only glacier in the state of Nevada.
Yeah, that's right, too. And anyway, that's where we're going. So, but we stopped at Panaca to see Art Kinder and visited with him a while. But when we got there, there was nobody home, so we figured they'd been to church on Sunday morning like there. So
I left them a little note and some pomegranates.
Yeah.
For
Yeah, and then we took off and drove on up to Pony Springs, where we stopped and rested a while and filled up with gas. And we had crackers and bologna and beer, and had a little Dutch lunch, and then what do we do then, Russ?
Well, then we got started out, and I had laid the little old hammer on top of the tire. And by gosh, we just lost it someplace.
Yes, sir, that's gone.
Yeah. It was pretty well beat up in the front end, but it was a straight claw hammer, which a person is handy because he can use it to split things with, see?
Well,
we missed it.
I wish you hadn't mentioned that, because I forgot it already. Now I'll be worried about the damn thing.
Landed on our way home.
Well, anyway, we got out on the highway again, and we drove on north past Geyser Ranch and over the little summit, and there about a half a mile over the summit, while we take the old road to the deer camp country on the south end of the mountain range there. But we went down there about a mile, and we stopped to get out and check our rifles and see how they shot and everything. So they were all in good shape, shooting perfect. And so we put the guns back in the car and then looked at the front end, and by God, the front tire was flat. So while we went flat, we hit a rock or something and went flat while we were shooting. And so we changed, put the good spear on it, and took off again. And well, we had a couple of outfits coming out of there, but then when we turned south around the end of Wheeler Mountain, or Snake Range there, then we got up as high as that Swallow Ranch line cabin there. Yeah, you've seen
pictures of that I had someplace of the whole gang there when there was two cabins.
Yeah.
Ted and I was there when you could sleep in either one of them. Then slowly but surely these long-haired sons of bucks went ahead and tore one down for firewood and everything else.
Yeah.
We coming up the road there, they're just about the base of Mount Wheeler. There's an old cedar there. And by gosh, we call him Old Joe. And so we asked Old Joe to give us some good luck. And later on, we'll find out if he did.
But when we got up to Swallow Cabin, where there was Ken Tomsick and his son and two other men with him, been hunting, and they had got one good buck too. He was about a 4-point on one side and 3 on the other side, but he was a good big looking buck. But then they told us that the damn country was covered with snow a couple of days before, and it was so mushy and soft that we thought we'd have to have chains to get up over the dugway to get down in the canyons over here, you know. And so, but we didn't put the chains on, but we dug and put brush
away,
and we pushed, and finally we got out of that mud hole and up on the top and down the dugway down into the canyon we went, and there it was pretty good gravel road, so we didn't have no trouble there. Then we turned up the Dry Canyon Road, and about 3 miles up there where we made our camp.
We've been making our camp there for years on. This time we had to shovel a little bit of snow away, so we were able to put the tent down. And after we got that, then we started putting up the tent. We didn't rush anything, but about an hour and 10 minutes later, everything, our bunks are back in, and we're all ready to
Fires are going.
Good.
We got a good 30-gallon barrel stove with flat on top, cook on everything. It takes wood, nice long wood, and it makes a real good heater, don't it, Russ?
Yeah. And then Ted, by God, digged out the lantern and here the mantle busted on it. So he had a little repair job to do, but it's all daylight. So anyhow, he fixed that thing, and by gosh, after a little bit, everything was working good.
Oh, we've got to tell you how long it took. We got from Vegas up to the camp here in about, with the 2-3 stops we had, why it took us about 6 hours, didn't it?
Yeah, just about.
From 8 o'clock till about 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And then we had all the rest of the afternoon to put up camp and sit around and then
do what we wanted.
Cook supper and so that's how long it takes to come up here. It's about 290 miles up here from Vegas.
Yeah.
And but then there was nobody in the whole country. That was last Sunday. This is the 25th of October on Sunday. 1 week since we left.
And we're breaking camp right now to head for home.
Yeah, and so we got when we got camped here and everything. Everybody that was down in here, they all left and went home, and we were the only ones in here for 5 days.
Then one morning here, Ted asked me, Russ, did you hear a truck go by us last night? Nope, I was sound asleep. But he did, and so when we got up there, they're friends of Art Kinder's. And Art had told him, my gosh, about this, about 1967 or 70 in there sometime. I don't remember the years, he said. But they've been coming up here all the time. And so we thought, my God, it's going to be bad. They'll have all these other guys running around up here. But it didn't seem to hurt anything. But anyhow, in grinding away up in the hill there, we don't know just what in the Decathlon, but Ted, we went up to Decathlon and coming back here, all of a sudden he's, Jesus, Russ. He said, I've got no second gear. Tried it in high, she just slipped completely. So, by gosh, we started in working on the thing and finally just...
We got it up here to the camp.
Yeah. And one way and then the other way and adjusting it, being that you don't have a book how to do it, you got to use your cassava. And then Ted figured something was going to be wrong, and he got a cylinder kit. But the damn thing was 1 inch in diameter.
Instead of 1 inch and
1 inch and a 16th.
Yeah.
And in going around and taking things, hold it in my hand and stuff, we lost the little new one, spring clip, which we couldn't have used anyhow. And I says, Ted, I says, watch it when you go ahead and take the old one off. And it went bing, and by God, we
lost that
it.
somewhere.
So the coil spring that holds the shifting lever back underneath the car, it's got about the right diameter, and so Ted went ahead and strengthened it, cut off that steel spring, and made another keeper spring for on that. So we took it apart and washed it all out, and it's so gummed up, I don't think it had for 6 months or a year.
Oh, a year. I don't think it had any hydraulic fluid through that thing in 10 years. I'll bet you it.
Well, anyhow, we got it all ready, and then we went and found out, by gosh, you go up and down the dugways and up the decathon and all over. By the way, we forgot to say, that first day we came in here, Ted got his old put going, and he cut up a cord of wood.
Oh, yeah. We went up the canyon up and got way up in there and got that cottonwood wood in long lengths, and then we brought it home here and we started that chainsaw, and boy, we just cut that damn thing, the whole works in one shot.
The funny thing about it is, just look at anybody else using a chainsaw, and they cut off that one stick that, and then they put up another one and cut that off. Ted says, Russ, he's laid down a couple, he says, line them all up, and he says, we'll just cut it that way. And I'll tell you, by God, he cut right on through 3 and 4 big sticks at a time. And by God, a little while, by God, it took a scan to whom you'd, by God, to cut that much wood in that length of time.
Boy, what quick, too.
Oh, he sure did.
Yeah, we got that all cut up good and stacked up real nice and neat in front there. It looks like a prospector's cab, you know. And so we got all the wood together and everything for the whole week. And we just got enough for about one more day if we were going to stay another day. And so that part was pretty good. But then we didn't do any hunting or nothing all day Monday. We didn't do nothing but lay around and drive up around the canyons, look over the country, and then Tuesday morning, Russ says, by golly, let's go up the canyon up in this same dry wash canyon that we're in and see what's up there.
Well, going up the road, by gosh, I was looking at both sides. Ted has to drive, but he looks at the road and he knows just where it is, then he scans the mountainside. And here I'm looking to my right, and Ted says, Russ, he says, isn't that deer up there? They're about 500 yards away. And I says, no, and then I looked, and I said, oh, yeah, there's 3 of them there.
Yeah.
Ted kept on going by, guys, and got a little bit closer, and he said, well, I think it's close enough. How'd we get? And I said, Ted, I said, now which one you going to shoot at? He said, I'll take the one on the right, on the left. And I said, okay, I'll take the one on the right. And so we just about touched it off right at the same time. Boom, boom. That's right. 2 deer dropped.
Yeah.
Dead.
Yeah, right there.
Yep. So that was the start of it. Then
we wet and dressed them up, and hung them up good, so nice and dry, and get them cooled out nice. And so then we went on up the road a little further, the end of the road, and we turned around, and then we fooled around there, looking around that area for a while, because that's only about a half a mile further up the road.
That is the area that probably you've heard me, any of this here in this tape, heard me talk before. We drive up, and it takes a grade. And so this was a few years ago when Ted, after his operation, he just took that grade and took right out the saddle. It wasn't any hard climbing at all.
Yeah.
And so here, we'll just say it from last year now. So anyhow, Ted got up there on the side, and I went around through the other way, and then Ralph came back up from the north side. And
that's last year.
Yes, that's what I said, the year. So anyhow, I came down below, and Ted is there watching, and here all of a sudden, which we'll tell you later on for our hunt here, but there came some does and a buck, about 400 and 500 yards from the other ridge, coming down the hill, and Ted, he just started following him, and then he touched it off, and boom, and the buck just went just a little ways and dropped dead.
Yeah.
And Ralph comes over there, and he says, "Unc," he said, "I've heard of you and Russ making shots like that," but he says, "No, I'm a believer."
Yeah, you know, there was about 8 or 10 deer running in a line, about 500 yards across this big canyon, and there was one deer that run like a buck because his head up, nice proud-looking deer, but he wasn't. The horns weren't big or nothing. Didn't tell how much horns he had, but I picked on that one. That was right in the middle of the group of 10 or 8 or 10 does that was going, and I just followed him a little bit, you know, and then when it was just about right elevation and the right lead in front of him, I tucked her off, and boy, I took him right back to the front leg. Just buried him right there.
For you people that don't know it, Ted is one of these men, hunters, friend, goes ahead and he will see an animal and will touch it off and he'll tell you where he hits.
Oh, yeah.
Me, if the animal drops, I know that I hit him. But by gosh, Ted knows just, he'll tell you always.
I know when that crosshair was exactly spot it was in when the damn gun went off, and I know that's where that thing hit, see? So I could call it shot pretty good, see?
Darn right. Well, anyhow, then undercut Ted there, Ralph and I, we packed the deer back down on the other side to the truck. That was all last year's now. Now then, by gosh, or the year before that. Now then, we're getting back to our hunt again today. And so anyhow, Ted had suggested here a while back that what we do is do like we did and sort of take off, go there's a great big rock on top of the hill, and do the same thing. And I was to go around to the north, down through the mahoganies, and down on the other side, and scare up anything to come Ted's way where he shot the other one the year before. Well, I got down there, and I got through the mahogany, and I see a bunch of deer going downhill. So I just up and shot ahead of them, and by gosh, they turned and came uphill. I took one more shot when they're going through the mahoganies, because I saw that big 3-point running, but I didn't lead him enough or something. But when I went to eject my shell, the doggone head of, it'll be the narrow part, the neck of it, stayed in there. And Ted and I...
Blow off the shell.
Yeah. So Ted and I, we always carry a shell extractor in our kit. Lucky enough, I shoved it in it, and I was pulling that out, and got it out, shoved in another one, and I came back up over the hill. And just when I got to the top, by gosh, I heard, whoa! I sort of went back over the other side. Ted sees me, and he says, Russ, he says, come on down, he says. And here there's 200 other hunters on the other side that was also been shooting at it. But by gosh, they were missing it a mile because Ted knew just where he hit. And by God, he told those guys, he said, I got him blowing away from me. He entered here, and he says he came out there. That's just exactly where the bullet was. Too. And that was a good long shot, too, Ted.
Yeah. Offhand. Yeah. And so, by golly, Russ came down there and put the deer tag on it, and so we waited there a while, let it dry out a little bit, and then Russ has a light rope that we just took and sewed up the cavity, the skin, sewed the whole thing from the head clear back to the tail, and pulled it all shut good so there's no dirt nor sagebrush gets into it or nothing, and so we pulled it on, with both of us hooked onto it, and pulled it up the hill. We had to go over a little ridge, and on top of that ridge, and then down to the other side, the truck was down below there. So we rested it quite often, but we got it up to the top without no trouble at all, and of course Russ arm, he had an operation on his right hand and right arm, and he couldn't do no lifting or pulling with that, so he could work with his left hand, but I could work right or left. So we pulled that thing up in good shape, and so when we went down the mountainside, the deer just come along just like nothing, and we pulled it right on down to the road, turned the truck around, and loaded us on the back end and headed for camp. When we got down about a quarter of a mile above our campground, where Russ says, there's a deer, 3 deer. And so he says, stop. So I stopped, and Russ ran up the opposite side of the hill, right? So this is looking at other hill, and I didn't see the deer, but Russ, he up and boom! Boy, he got that deer, and just a quarter of a mile above our camp. So, and we done good that day. Yeah, Ted's advice to everybody that comes up here, if they're not up on their deals, he said, if you're going down the road, he says, and you see a deer on the other side, he said, run like hell up the other side of the mountain.
That way you can look into it, and he says you get a shot.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, if you stay on the road, you don't get a shot.
Well, if you go up in the same hill they went up, you can never see nothing.
That's
So
right.
you go up the opposite side of the hill, and you can look right into that hillside.
And it proved out
That's what
successful
you-
again.
That's what you did this time too.
Yep.
Well, anyway, we've been having a real good time here. By golly, we've just been enjoying everything, and we're just having a real good time with this hunting trip. So, but we've had some company. Now, I'm going to stop for a minute here.
Okay, we came to camp, and Ted and I hung up the buck, which is on Friday the 23rd, and so that was for that part of it.
And them other two fellas that was up on the mountain when they killed this buck, they went over the ridge where Russ could just come across, and over on that side, and they killed two good bucks in there.
Out of the same group that I chased out from the bottoms.
Yeah. So then we fooled around up in the canyon a little bit, and after we'd come home and hung the buck up, we drove back up there a little again to see if them fellas is back yet. And one of the men had come down over the mountain and to get his truck and go clear down around the roads and up into Decathon Canyon where they dragged them deer down to the bottom so they could pick them up. So then we stayed up there hunting, and when we come back later on, it was dark by the time we got back, but they had already got back, and they had the two bucks hanging up in the tree, all skinned and covered with cheesecloth and all dressed out good, and they thought that they were going to go home the next day. Like that was on Saturday.
And then here we'd make another trip to see if anybody was down in the Decathon Road, and here they're coming out. And so Teddy just pulls right up over the sagebrush up to the right side of him, and the guys
Right up the hill.
Yeah, and the guys run ahead, and they said, "Oh gosh, we didn't think you'd go up in there. God, you can drive that truck any place, can't you?"
Yeah.
And Ted says, "Yeah." He says, "Don't stop us." He says, "When we want to go someplace." And he said, "Well," he said, "some guy by the name of Lee up there." And he said, "Also another fellow came up by the name of Clark." And Jerry Clark. So anyhow, we didn't know who this Lee was. But anyhow, Jerry Clark came up a little bit later, and then the other fellow came down.
No, we seen Lee Clark up the Decathon Road that day, didn't we?
Yeah.
Him and
His boy.
2-3 other outfits is in there. See?
And Doc.
Yeah, that Doc Sack.
Dr. Zach.
Yeah.
That's a poor hunting wheel there. They went ahead and they got up in Cedar Cabins. They got a little buck over there and pulled it down and drove it all the way over there to Decathon,
About 5 miles.
where Jerry Clark used to make a camp. And I'll be a son of a gun. They strung it up into a tree and it dropped down 3 times. The rest of the boys says, "The hell with it." And they left him. Now when Jerry was back, he saw it up there, and he says he didn't cut out the gullet. He didn't open up the brisket. He just got the guts and let them lay right there, he says, right between the deer's legs.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's a hell of a way to be a hunter.
Yeah, that's right. Boy, that's really careless, you know. Well, anyway, we come back over here to camp, and we were just fooling around, having fun and killing time and seeing the country and visiting different ones and that come up here. But this Lee was a friend we knew. His name is Lee Gaines, and he's a grandson of Tim Harnedy that had the first gas station at Indian Springs in 1927. And the first time I knew Tim Harnedy was in 1929. And so this Lee Danes is his son, who's about 23 years old now. They were both them up here hunting. Hell, I knew them for years, you know. And so they talk a lot, you know. That Lee Danes, he gets started talking and you can't shut him up, you know. Not that you want to shut him up, but he's just a good, interesting talker, but he talks all the time, you know.
He knows quite a little about everything.
Oh, and he's smart, and he's good company and everything, but, and I got nothing against it at all, except that he talks so long, and he never remembers to leave. He stay there all night and talk to you know? And, so, it got dark about that night when, he come over here and he stayed here for, I don't know, 2-3 hours.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden Ted says he knew him before on that. I knew Lee too, but I never was acquainted that way. So Ted says, by God, he said, didn't you say something about your infield not shooting just right? Let's go out and try it.
Yeah.
That broke the thing, and so
I got him out of the place then, and talk about something else, And so I took his gun and shot at a mark, a big rock that we got marked at 400 yards exactly up there. And hell, it shot right on the mark, didn't it, Russ?
Yeah. Ted shooting, he couldn't hit it.
And when he takes the gun of his own gun, good scope and every darn thing, he couldn't hit the rock, And I don't know how he holds that thing there, why it's like that. But anyway, the gun's shooting good, but he can't shoot good. So finally, then he got in the truck and left. So then we got busy and made some supper here. That was last night. That's Saturday night. And then Jerry Clark, we seen him, and he says, how about coming over to your place tonight and have some liver and onions? And so I said, sure, God, we'll cook up liver and onions for you and something else stuff to eat too, all you want. So they did that. They come up here about 7:30 or so, and then they had dinner with us and visited and everything, and then they went hunting or went back down to their camp, and then this morning about 8 o'clock, they drove up in here again. And he says, boy, he sure looks skinny. He only seen a bunch of does, and we couldn't shoot none of them. So he says, well, one little bunch of does all the time we drove this morning in daylight. And so I said, and then they wanted to go, and we had coffee and stuff here. And he said, well, let's go. Just wait a little bit. I says, the deer's going to be running around till 9 o'clock or so anyway. 10 o'clock, I says, it's just as good to wait a little bit and then go. So, half an hour later, they did go. And they just left and went on down the road, and 5 minutes, and boom, we heard a shot, And, of course, we didn't know anything about what happened, but then Lee Danes and his boy come up just about, well, after Jerry had shot down there, and he got a nice buck. A 4-point on one side and a 3-point on the other side.
Same as mine.
Just the same one. And so then he told us that Jerry got a buck, and Jerry had just said, leaving here, well, he's just going to go right out down to camp and load up and go home because he ain't going to get no deer. So, hell, in 5 minutes he had a buck down below here.
Yes, and last night, by gosh, when the two of them was going around driving, and here, all of a sudden, a couple coyotes went. And so, Kurt, which is
15-year-old, 16-year-old son,
boy, he jumped out, and he said, Dad, should I get him? He said, sure. And he shot and dropped him, and he said, Daddy, should I shoot the other one too?
Yeah.
And that sure tickled Jerry, by
God. Oh, yeah, and he's a good shot, that boy is.
Yeah.
Boy, he's like his dad. Boy, his dad's a good shot, too. Because he was in competition in Nellis, or Lake Mead base, and he was one of the
top shooters.
Oh, the team shooters, because I shot with him all the time, And so I know he's a good shot, and we're both good shots, with that, And so he tickled to death when his own son was getting to be a real sharp shooter. I mean, he's a good shot, and that tickles the hell out of Jerry because he'd been taking him hunting since he was 5 years old, I can support a hell of a lot of things I done. I done a lot of things. Yeah.
Well, it sure was fun to hear that side one about your hunting trip in October.
Yeah.
Nice and cozy here, just
But the first part wasn't very loud or something. I don't know.
Well, maybe you we're too far away from it.
Oh, I was right in front of it, right here. Russ was over there, about 4 feet.
There are times if you are talking directly into it, you talk louder, then you're going to be louder on the tape.
Then it
It won't make
Yeah,
it sound like you're farther away.
Oh.
yeah, because it'll equalize the sound, and so that no real loud sounds or real soft sounds, mess it up. It makes everything sound about the same, no matter how far or close you are.
Don't you go poking things on that
Well, I
time.
talk kind of loud when
Oh, they're all dead.
I'm talking on something anyway.
It probably tones down your talking.
Sharon,
You're a little cubby, you hold that.
did you put his name on each page?
Close the door. You can just walk back and forth with your tone,
It would be all
and
right.
it would be all right.
Uh-huh.
Oh. Well, I got a hell of a lot
Turn
of
your volume up to about 3/4,
Oh.
and you'll come across beautiful. Because, like, you'd be playing it back, and you'd only play it back at half. Half
Oh.
volume instead of
Oh, so you can turn the volume up.
Of course, with these tape recorders now, with these cheaper ones, you usually record with the thing up pretty good, volume on. And then, yeah. Well, we got Sharon in there,
I don't buy
finishing
that.
up, talking on Ronnie's paper.
I had a
I guess that'll
whole
be down to the
thing
thing.
here. But somebody been out there, the kids are into God and.
put it down, what you remember, say, of the year 1980.
Yeah.
Inside 1979 and the other, then you start going back. And then you start stacking backwards.
What you're gonna do is start way back there.
No. You work your way back. You don't work your way forward.
Oh, you don't?
Oh, I gotta give you involved in what you're doing, because you remember more things
As you go along, well, for the back.
right now, you remember more things of what happened in 1980 than you did right in
Yeah.
But things that have happened also would trigger your memory.
Yeah, and that's what happens too.
Yeah, something that would happen in 1980, you might remember something just about like that happened in 1940.
Yeah, that's right too.
That's why you
It
go,
does, when you're talking about something, it does bring to mind other things you did.
other things and other people.
Yeah, that's right.
So you never work your way forward.
Now, that's a good
Way
idea.
back.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Boy, Daddy, just think if you'd have had a tape recorder going, I don't know what those hunting trips you had through the years. Boy, would you'd have done some real good stories.
The other thing that you do, you can
You
start telling it like a story.
Yeah, that would be good too. Did you know, if I got talking about it from the beginning of 1930, when I first started killing a lot of deer, I killed about 1,100 head of deer. In my years of hunting. And, I started a mining camp up where the farm range is now. It was, open country. And, I worked for a mining complex and there were 27 men in there. They all had their own claims. And they had a headquarters of a big, cookhouse, and a big long table and everything. Everybody ate there. Everybody put in the money, buy the food, and everybody ate there. Although they were all separate, everybody was doing their own work. And I used to keep the meat in that camp. I used to kill 2 deer every day on Saturday and Sunday.
Well,
The feet were 27 men and their wives. There was about
No, this is.
5 or 6 wives besides them, you know. And it took 3 deer a week to feed them. It moves a lot to live off of the land. If you're in prospecting mining community, you know. There ain't nothing they can do to you. You can eat all the things you want. So I used to be the hunter for the camp every Saturday and Sunday, and that was the beginning of the depression, and I never had no. I had my rifle, but I didn't have any shells, so pretty popular. He was at the camp. He gave me 6 or 7 shells, and that's all I got for those 2 days, you know. And I had to get 3 deer with them at least. And so many times I come home with 3 deer and 2 shells left. You know, I wouldn't shoot them all. And I got to be, I pulled down on something, and if I wasn't absolutely sure, I didn't shoot.
Yeah, but that's also when you can eat nowhere but.
Oh, well, anything you can get. And I never pulled the trigger until I knew damn well I was right on, you know. And so that's what made me be real deliberate with shooting, because I didn't have no damn shells to wait, you know. And then I'd dress them and I'd haul them back. I used to hunt, 50 to 75 miles away from the camp, wherever the mountain ranges, where I go to them different mountain ranges. They give me an old Model T Russ, so someone I had a truck with a bed on it. That's what I had to go with, you know. And I went along. Nobody else went with me. So, and I'd be gone 2 days and come home on Sunday night, and I'd have all the meat for everybody. Every week that went. Every week. And I killed, in about 4 years' time I was out there, I killed about 400 or 600 deer with that gun, you know. And that was up to 1935. And so I grew up on, I by God, I could tell when deer are in places, because I think like a deer. Now, if I was a deer, where in the hell what canyon would I like to be in at this time of day? I would want water and everything. And I'd go to them remote canyons. There's where I'd find the deer, you know. And I'd probably drop 3 of them right there, right down there. Or if I didn't, I'd have to go into the next canyon, and I'd get a deer over in the next canyon. Then I had to pack them 2 and 3 miles out of that canyon, clear on down to where the old truck was, but you couldn't go up in them damn mountains with the truck, you know. And I packed all that deer out and had them all on the truck, hunted them and dressed them and packed them out of there and loaded them on the truck and had them in camp 30 miles away most of the time, and it was about 35 miles away with a good mountain range. And I'd have them all home by 6 o'clock Sunday night, you know. And I did all this myself. And I packed deer galore. That's because I was
But how old were you?
Well, I was, in 1931, I was 19 years old. Oh, yeah, now that looks real decent.
Big thank you on
I got that good.
Did you get the list of references, Todd?
No.
Oh, that's very important.
Say, he said he can get you all kinds of dope on there.
I can.
What?
Ronnie, you can't leave the list of references. That has to
Do you know how many, I have to do this thing verbally. Do you know how many of the prisoners that come into prison are in there on drug,
Related to the
Drug-
crime?
Now, don't be fooling with that goddamn thing in on the floor here or nothing. If you're gonna go in your room, you can play with that. Look, we're all talking here, and you don't need to.
What prison is that? Gee, stay with me.
When do you plan to do your list of references? You can't turn that in without it.
Yes, I can, but I probably would get. When are you gonna do it? Huh? When are you gonna do it? Melissa,
34,050.
you're gonna get it sometime within the next 5 days. Sorry, Mom.
Ooh, you have to give credit for that information that you're going to mouth off.
Yes, yeah. I thought you said you had to turn it in tomorrow.
You're smart.
That's why you had to have it
I
done
had to
today.
have it done, but I didn't have it ready. I gotta have it ready. And I might be called tomorrow. That's why I had to make sure I was done.
Well, you just exercise yourself a little bit and write out your list of references to go along with it.
Hot, but I'm gonna leave it out of the cake.
Yes, right, fine. Just turn it off.
Ronnie, yeah, I'll pick you up one of the charges.
Well, let's see, I charge $5 an
I
hour.
got his charge.
Yeah.
Correct.
Now, how many hours have it been?
Yeah, but I'm talking about the picture.
Well,
Really?
I started at 4:30.
That's all I have.
3 hours.
Three
You
hours.
know what I told you?
No, I just found out.
You put her in your room if you're gonna be playing. Box be gone. There's no box for that. And this styrofoam in it, you know, to keep this together nice, just like brand new. Where the hell can that box be? And I've scoured this goddamn place since you've been gone, and there ain't no such thing as a box. Brand new box with our styrofoam in it, and this has always been in it. Everything is together right in that box. And it was underneath that little ladder that goes up in the attic over there.
Yeah.
In a box down in there and stuff on top of that. Cause I put it there so it wasn't so damn easy for somebody just to walk in here and steal something. Make it a little bit hard to find the goddamn thing.
Oh, it was up in the attic?
No!
Under the
Did you
ladder?
hear what I told you?
You said it was up over in the corner or where the ladder
I
is?
said under the ladder. You know where the ladder is? Well, anyway. You know, and that's where I looked at the beginning for this thing. And then I find out there's no box there was no goddamn nothing there. And then you said, well, that thing's up in the toilet. I can't believe that because this is never out of a box. Somebody did it. I don't know who the hell did it. And the only thing gone is that goddamn recorder, what do you call it, that mic,
Yeah.
because that was with it too. And if you look in that there's the packages there, and you see the package of stuff that's in it. Right, look inside there. I put all that there it is, right there. Now that was laying out here, and the recorder was back up in there. And there's no box anywhere in this goddamn place. And it was always in the box. Now, that's the instructions for it.
This was out here?
Yeah, it was over there, right there on top of them letters and stuff there. And that was the bag that the mic was in, and that that light cord was in it, and then instructions was in it. Wouldn't that make you wonder where the hell the box went to? You know, maybe you ain't like me. I put things back just like when they gave it to me, and I never used it. You know, it's in the box just like brand new when I got it. And you know, I never recorded a goddamn thing in that son of a bitch. And then we find it in parts. You know,